pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Haley and Logan, we have a special treat tonight.
We could all stand.
Haley's going to say something first. Okay. Just so you know.
Ready? Come here. Sit here. Hi, my name is Haley Weiner, and this is Logan Gillis, and we're from the Southington High School Unified Theater Program. On March 21st, we celebrated World Down Syndrome Day. The 21st is selected to signify the uniqueness of the triplication of the 21st chromosome.
Yep.
Here today to celebrate, we have Logan, who's going to sing us for us. Ready?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight that's streaming in the rocky plain air by my bursting there. Gave through the night. Oh, save us as Star Spangled Banner Yahweh. Over land the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Okay. You can all be seated. All right.
Better than I am.
Okay, why did I get a short chair tonight? I would like to turn it over to Mr. Medancy for our celebration of excellence.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. We have a couple Southington High School students we would like to recognize tonight during our celebration of excellence. And at this time, I'd like to call Mr. Crocco up to the podium to introduce both the teacher and the students.
Good evening, board. How's everybody doing tonight? Very good. So my name is Mike Crocco. I'm the proud principal of Southington High School. One of the reasons why I'm so proud, you just saw, and you're going to meet a couple more reasons and hear from a bunch of our students and a fabulous teacher. So I'd like to ask Miss Carrie Louise to come on up and tell us a little bit about Jillian and Alicia and the work that they've been doing and the honors that they've gotten.
Thanks, Mike. The last time you were at this podium, I know what you were doing. There you go. Good evening, Southington Board of Education members, central office, and good evening, parents. Good evening, the Southington community, and I'd like to say a special hello to my dad who is visiting up from Florida. Hi, Dad. And my hubby, of course. So we all are aware of the global community recognizing that gender gaps exist in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, better known as STEM, and it has existed for many years. In the past 15 years, there has been ongoing efforts to promote and inspire women and girls to participate in STEM fields. So what has Southington Public Schools done, and how have they been a part of this? Well, our district's continued support of Southington High School Project Lead the Way celebrates its 25th year this year. Its commitment to the E and STEM funnels future engineers and technologists to the second largest industry hiring in the state, not to mention the ratio and a proud ratio between 33 and 50% of girls and women in our program over the last years. Additionally, for the last 15 years, Southington High School is home base to a self-finance club, Women in Science and Engineering, filling in huge shoes of our founder, Leanne Miller, and providing voice and choice for our girls to STEM activities. So it really comes as no surprise that we as a high school open the doors to opportunity to encourage our young women to participate in the National Center for Women in Information Awards program, Aspirations in Computing, who nationally build women's leadership, technical, and entrepreneurial skills. So Why the heck do I mention all this, right? You know me, I talk a lot, but tying this all together, one of our young ladies being honored this evening is a junior member of our PLTW program. She is our co-president of WISE, Women in Science and Engineering, where we had a tremendous meeting this past week to clear arterial pathways. She is in the math club. She is on our very own robotics team 195, Go Cyber Knights. And this is only just to name a few. She has won the award for the NCWIT Aspirations in Computing. This is the 6th year in a row that Southington is represented nationally. She is not only brilliant, beautiful, talented, and determined, she represents our women in future, and she is the equation of success. Congratulations, Alicia Paul.
Not going to make you talk. You don't have to say anything. It's okay. But can I just say, huh? No, I'm not going to. I know. But very impressive. It is. We are so proud, and I speak for the entire board when we say we are proud of your accomplishments and can't wait to see what you do in the future.
Thank you so much.
For you, in witness whereof the seal of the Southington Board of Education and the signature of the board chair, that would be me, and the superintendent of schools are hereunto affixed on the 24th day of March 2022. Congratulations and thanks.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work.
All right. Independent study programs are found at nearly every level of education in the United States, from elementary school through graduate school. The major elements of independent study are the following. Individualized teaching and learning takes place through the student's activity. A tutorial mentorship relationship exists. Learning is made convenient for the student. Boy, oh boy, hubby, did we not do that this year in our own kitchen? The learner takes responsibility for progress, expressing their voice and their choice. The Architecture Independent Study Program functions at Southington High School as a non-credit, student-motivated study where those, and I want to cry right now because this is my field, where those who enroll become masterful in our vision of the graduate skills, creativity and architectural design, collaboration with teacher mentorship and statewide building community, architectural citizenship and responsibility to the green environment, and critical thinking at every step of the way. The year-long study focuses on college applications, resumes, portfolio building, honing AutoCAD skills, design practice and methodology, presentation drawings and model building, and specifically, students enter in the HBRA Connecticut Student Competition to design a 2,000 square foot residence, as you see here in the poster and obviously in the model. Southington High School participants have received architectural excellence for 6 years in a row now. It is with great pleasure that we celebrate along with their family our beautiful and talented, going to be attending University of Hartford in architecture program, Jillian Christensen, and the award-winning entry aptly named Still Waters. Congratulations, Jillian.
The 2022 Student Design Competition winner, Home Builders and Remodelers Association of Central Connecticut. If you've won this now, how far can you go? I cannot wait to see, Jillian, just how far you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you want to get pictures with the, yeah, okay. Well, why don't we have you, the two winners come up here. Stand up here and you can get pictures. We'll take a 5-minute or less break. So we can get pictures, board members, if you want to sit down and congratulate them, and you have to see. This is beautiful. Already bust my ass. An infinity pool. Don't crash. You can get get the two of you together. They want. Yes, it looks like this is. Okay. Where is Mrs. Linda?
This is
Linda
Blanchard.
Blanchard.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we will now resume the meeting. I'm looking for some motions, gentlemen.
So I'd like to make a motion to add 11G, student expulsion 2021-2022-5 to the agenda.
Second? Anybody second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yep. Mr. Charnowski?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to add three motions. So the first one, I'd like to make a motion for a new agenda item 8C1 for bid award 2022-10 lawn mowing and trimming services and fall spring debris cleanup and removal services. 8C2 for preschool regular education tuition rates for 2022 to 2023. And 8C3 for YMCA before and after care program rates for 2022 to 2023.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And now I'm looking for an approval of the minutes from February the 24th.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now, communications from our student board representatives.
Hello, board. I'm going to start out with all the junior news. So much is happening this month. Juniors began their SAT testing this Wednesday, and testing will continue through next Thursday. College Board is changing the way they give the SAT, so this year juniors are taking it online over multiple days to ensure the test runs smoothly. Juniors and seniors are beginning to take their Seal of Biliteracy exams starting on Monday, continuing through the first week of April. This is a 4-part exam including reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and is meant to display the students' comprehension of their language. A fun event for juniors after all of this testing is Junior Prom, which is taking place on April 2nd at La Bella Vista in Waterbury. If anyone needs a reminder of the guidelines of the event, the prom packet is available on the SHS website. News for the entire school includes that Quarter 3 is ending at the high school April 1st or next Friday. Students are excited to be entering their final quarter, especially our seniors. I'll end my segment of this with some theater news. The high school's drama club performed Little Mermaid on March 4th and 5th, and it was a huge success. All of the children in the audience warmed the hearts of our cast, and we're so glad we were able to bring some Disney magic to our Southington community. Lastly, Unified Theater had our show last Friday, which was also a huge success. As one of the directors, I would like to say thank you to Ms. Kavanaugh for putting so much effort into the program every year, along with a thank you to everyone who came out to see the show and anyone who helped along the way.
Good evening, board. This past week, the Unified Sports Tournament was held at the West Gym at SHS, where Southington hosted Farmington, Meriden, Middletown, and Simsbury. I also enjoyed seeing Chairwoman Clark, Ms. Carmody, Mr. Merdancy, Mr. Pepe, and of course, Mr. Crocco. These past few weeks have been very exciting for our seniors, as many of us are committing to colleges and making some very tough decisions. I would like to recognize Jaleesa for receiving a full tuition scholarship to Fordham University. And I would also like to recognize Taylor DePaulo, who is a senior at SHS, for receiving a full tuition scholarship to the University of Hartford. We're very proud of Jaleesa and Taylor.
All right.
This past weekend, Southington High School Team 195, the Cyber Knights, attended their first competition in Springfield, Massachusetts. The team had many learning curves the first day, where the team placed 35th out of 36 teams. Although the second day, the team overcame these battles with their robot and made it to the finals. Team 195 ended the competition from being second to last, becoming a finalist, moving their way to their next competition, Hartford, this in April 8th and April 9th.
Now on to our Southington Sports Report. Spring tryouts started last Saturday and are wrapping up this week. Team scrimmages and baseball and our defending state champion girls softball team will begin this Saturday, and the Spring Sports Meet the Blue Knights teams event was held last night at SHS. Some highlights from the winter season included the following teams winning CCC Conference Championships: gymnastics, girls basketball, boys swimming and diving, and cheerleading. And the gymnastics team finished as the CIAC Class L state runner-up as well. Finally, in club sports, the girls ice hockey team advanced to the state semifinals for the first time. Now notes from our surrounding schools. From JFK, tickets are now available in the main office at Kennedy and DePaulo Middle School for the Kennedy and DePaulo Drama Club production of School of Rock. There are only $5 for students and $8 for adults. Show dates are April 1st, 2nd, 7th, and 8th. All shows are at SHS at 7 p.m. You do not want to miss the show. On March 4th, the Jackson Laboratory and Accenture A Million Women Mentor member officially recognized Allison Zijak, a grade 7 student, in their Stand Up for STEM Mentorship Award ceremony virtually held for Northeast America. She received in their Youth in Action Award. Allison has been coding since she was 8, and she is now mentoring others. On either March 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, each grade 7 social studies classes once again experienced Paul Vivian's and Audley Donaldson's diversity awareness program. This session was entitled My World Got Bigger, a session that promoted 3 principles of growing awareness: observing, listening, and asking questions. Through 3 activities, they emphasized the importance of becoming acquainted with one another and demonstrated that by following these 3 principles, a person can see beyond the individual differences to the similarities we all share. At DePaulo, you will see a flag display proudly displayed in the lobby of DePaulo Middle School. The flags displayed represent a country where each current DePaulo student was born.
And then from Darnowski, believe it or not, we have never named our mascot. We recently held a mascot naming contest, and the name Walter won. Darnowski's school mascot is now Walter the Darnowski Dragon. Also this past week, DES had a scavenger hunt to see how many Walters each class could find around the building. The winning class received games for the indoor recesses. And that's all we have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, students. I do appreciate that. Do any board members have any questions of our students?
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
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 I'm very proud of you.
I hear Fordham's pretty good.
I've been there once or twice, seen it a couple of times. All right. Members of the board, Mrs. Carmody.
Yes, I will keep this brief because Mr. Medancy and Mr. Pepe will be upset with me. But we do all know that this is the season of March Madness, and there have been some unbelievable basketball games to view, and there are some really great ones on tonight. But I think the best one I saw was last Wednesday at Southington High School in Unified Sports. My heart was so full of joy watching the Unified Sports, watching the kids make a basket with the other students helping them. And it was, Mrs. Clark was there, and we did sit together. We didn't cry, though, did we, Colleen?
Not much.
Not too much.
Not much.
It was just a joy. And so my heartfelt thanks go to all of those teams that were there and those that put the program together. It was absolutely wonderful. And I know that Mr. Pepe and Mr. Medancy will speak more to that. But I just want you to know what a wonderful experience it was. Thank you.
Board members. Mr. Brzezowski, Mr. Czarnowski, Mr. Brzezowski.
So I had an opportunity, I know, I believe it was it yesterday or Monday that we had the walkthrough of the athletics. My son, he plays lacrosse, so let's go Southington Lax, tis the season, and baseball and softball. But in having an opportunity to sort of wander a little bit and check out the athletic facility at the high school, and boy, it's pretty evident. It sounds like a number of our town councilors had an opportunity to go as well, and again, for the level of athletics that Southington does and what a lot of these students go on to do at college levels and other avenues, I think it's really important that we do as much as we can to rehab. And then again, just to briefly touch on the past couple weeks, I know that there's a lot of people here to talk this evening, and certainly looking forward to seeing what the public has to say. The only thing that I can say is we always have to sometimes leverage our initial reactions to things and just try and understand, right? And, try and be kind, try and be supportive of each other I think we're always trying to learn from one another. From every bad situation that happens, whether it's, the war in the Ukraine or anything like that, it's an opportunity to take that and make it a positive and essentially, be a teacher to our kids, be a teacher to one another. As a Board of Ed, I think that's important. I view myself as someone who's a steward of education, and that happens at every aspect of our lives, from being a kid in a classroom to being a 36-year-old nurse. It never stops. So thank you for everybody for coming out this evening, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Mr. Sharnowski? No? Everybody good? Okay. Moving along then to communication from our administrators.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. So a couple of announcements tonight. One, informational to the board. As of right now, the last day of school is on June 20th, which is a Monday. I know you're all aware the last meeting we set the high school graduation date at June 17th. Knocking on wood, if we have no more snow days, I may be coming to you in April with a recommendation to have the last day of school for all students June 17th, so students are not coming back on that Monday. In order for us to be able to do that, the reason why I say hopefully no snow is state law, we have to go 180 days. We currently go 181 in Southington, so we could take that June 20th day and then instead make the last day June 17th, and we'd still be in compliance with state law and end the day on a Friday. That also does help the high school if all students are done on that day. Typically, the last day of school for all schools, elementary, middle, and high, is a last day, is a half day. And there's a lot that's done with the seniors, as you all know, that last day to prepare for the graduation ceremonies that evening, and it's very hard to do with all the other students in the school. And so it's something that, there's some weather calls next week where it looks like it could get a little dicey, but if we can do a delay or a dismissal and get kids in safely, that will be the goal. And then hopefully if that happens, I can bring a recommendation to you to modify the school calendar at the April meeting. Secondly, as you're aware, I've sent out to the community correspondence in the past several weeks as we continue to roll back our mitigation strategies. Again, knock on wood, our case rates remain low, although I'm sure everyone's following what's happening over in Europe right now and China. So hopefully that surge doesn't impact the United States. But at this point, we are going back to the normal eating procedures where students are able to eat at CAF tables in one location instead of multiple locations. That's been a tremendous gift for our students, both for their social health and mental health, but also, the food service staff who had to constantly move food from the kitchen to multiple points of sale, custodial services that had to clean multiple locations, and then learning spaces that were compromised over that time because what normally would be used as a media center was a cafeteria, or a band room was a cafeteria, and that whatnot. So we're glad we're rolling back with that. And as you saw yesterday, we also rolled back the live streaming. It was a tremendous task, and as I said in the correspondence to families yesterday, I'm truly appreciative of the effort of our teachers these past couple years. I don't think it can be understated how difficult it is to have a screen of students in front of you and then have a body of students in front of you and try to attend to the needs of everyone simultaneously, not to mention modifying content and material, often with short notice. You don't know when a student's going to come down with COVID and go into quarantine, and they did a tremendous job trying to accommodate. We were one of the very few districts during the entire course of the pandemic that allowed that live streaming and provided that for families. Many just provided work to be done at home independently. So our teachers really were heroes throughout this, and I think they should be applauded and acknowledged for that. Thank you. I feel like I talk about DECA every meeting, but I guess their success wagon continues. I know they became before you a couple meetings ago with hopes of going to Atlanta, Georgia, and because they met that gold standard, and in addition to, they had 7 students qualify at the States a couple weeks back, so they are sending 10 students to Atlanta, Georgia on April 22nd for the national level competition. So I'm guessing I'll be back with more news about the DECA program and continued success at the national level, so stay tuned for that. And then lastly, a plug. It's nice that we have a full community here tonight that's so supportive of education as well as our board. The Southington Education Foundation is finally able to reconvene and have our annual gala. That'll be on Saturday, May 7th from 6 to 10. It's at the Pavilion at the back 9. There will be live music, auctions, and food provided by the back 9. It's a great community gathering for a very worthy cause. The Southington Education Foundation does a lot of wonderful programs and enhancements for youth in our community. So if you can support that, you can go right to the website to purchase some tickets, or you can even purchase a table as a group or an entity. I'm sure they would appreciate that. Mr. Pepe?
Thank you. Kindergarten registration kicked off with an informational night held on February 28th at Topalo. All our elementary administrators, board chairwoman, were present along with our community partners. Our National Junior Honor Society students helped families navigate the sign-in and intent to enroll forms. Two of our own kindergarten teachers, Beth Bowman and Angela Weaver, presented a day in the life of a kindergartner to the packed auditorium. Very informative. As mentioned last week, our unified sports, huge hit. Our own Ethan stood watch over the gold medals during the competition. And a special shout out to our head coach, Lisa Carmody, and the assistant coaches, Denise Ingraselli, as well as Andrew Larkin. And our own athletic director, Steve Risser, emceed the whole event. And I just want to read to you, there was a letter that was sent by the assistant director for the program. It reads, I want to give a huge thank you to you and your staff for hosting an amazing unified basketball tournament last week. Your facility was in tip-top shape. The people were incredibly accommodating and helpful, and the students and volunteers were enthusiastic and involved. It was a class act event. None of this would have been possible without your leadership and attention to detail. The students, coaches, and staff at Southington High School are certainly very fortunate to have a dedicated and caring leader teaching them the way. On behalf of the students and coaches who participated, I say thank you again, and we all look forward to returning to Southington in the future for more unified sporting events. Signed, John Niski. Again, he's the associate director. It was mentioned by the students as well. We have a unified theater, the show on Friday. Mrs. Kavanaugh was here with Logan earlier. By the way, I'm going to be Logan's new agent because he not only sang tonight, but he opened for the Unified Theater on Friday and brought down the house. And just for your information, our Unified Theater this year included 62 cast and 11 backstage crew members.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's an awesome program. Okay. And seeing as that concludes your report? Okay, I'm just going to read something before we get to the public comment. The Southington Board of Education offers communication from public portion of the agenda as an opportunity for individuals to share their views regarding school operation and programs which are of a concern to them. The board listens carefully to all comments. It is important to note that the communication from public portion is not an interactive question and answer session, nor is it a time to make personal complaints or comments about any staff or employee of the board. If that does happen, you will be asked to stop. It is important to clarify how the communications from the public portion of the meeting will be conducted. Board Bylaw 9325 provides that 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker. There is no provision in the bylaws for speakers to yield time to another speaker, so please be aware that each individual speaker will be able to comment tonight. But tonight, due to the volume of numbers of people that we have who want to comment on various topics, as the chair, I am reducing the time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Emails will not be read into the record, but will be available to the board members prior to the meeting and will be referenced in the minutes when appropriate. If questions are posed by speakers, those questions may be addressed by the chair or superintendent at the discretion of the chair during communications from the board or administration or at a later date. Thank you. So, are there communications from the public? Please come up. State your name, your address into the record. Okay. No, you don't have to. I mean,
No, you don't.
You don't have to. You don't have to go in order of the paper.
Do you want me, because I know you came to me, so, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
All right, gotcha. My name is Patricia Tavolosi, 99 Westbrook Road, Plantsville, Connecticut. Congratulations to the students, and thank you, Logan, for leading us in song. I love this town. I appreciate what the board members and the teachers have been tasked with over these last couple of years, and I will always be here to support. So don't mistake my words for anything more than love and passion for my town and for the children in it. I speak with you tonight in love. And I must say, we all heard the great accomplishments, but we will always have outstanding students. But as you saw tonight, they are awesome students, but we are still failing our children. I spoke over last summer about the dummying down of our expectations, the lowering of the bar in our education testing arena. I spoke then about how Southington, as well as the state, has consistently lowered the expectation or at grade level scoring, and I gave the board copies for them to see for themselves. At that same meeting, I spoke about CRT, SEL, and I shared with the board proof that was being taught in our schools. At that time, I spoke about LGBTQ and gender issues being taught and being persuaded in our classrooms. I voiced my beliefs then, and today I voice them again. A 2019 annual Victims of Communism poll showed that 1 in 3 millennials favor socialism. The government is pushing public schools to teach racism in the pretext of anti-racism, i.e. SEL, CRT, social justice. Public education has had their hand in sexualizing and pushing immorality on our students for some time now. Government schools, and let's not mistake our public schools, they are government schools across America, including ours, have become conduits of anti-Christian extremism. The consequences of government public schools are becoming more and more obvious, and thanks to COVID lockdowns, which I call lockouts, are helping our parents to finally see this. Parents and faith leaders must step up to help our families take back our education. Our school board needs to step up and stop this dangerous road we are walking down with our children. It is dividing our families, the very core of what we stand for. To prevent the next generation from becoming these, we will ultimately destroy the U.S. That will ultimately destroy our U.S. education system. We have to hit the root of the problem, and it is our education system. Let me remind everyone here that nowhere in our Constitution of the United States of America is education listed as an enumerated power of the federal government. Tonight, I ask those who have hidden from uncomfortable topics to throw down salt and step out of that place. It is time to stand up for your children and what is being taught to them. We are made to listen to demands of equity, inclusion, diversity. And if we say, hold on, wait a minute, I don't agree with that, or if we question in any way, shape, or form, we are called names. We are called racists, homophobes, even worse. So what do we do when we get to that uncomfortable place? Because, God forbid, we be called names and be shut down and not speak. We say nothing. We don't voice our beliefs or our opinions for fear of being called one of those names. So we allow this to perpetuate in silence. I'm done silencing. I will now respond in kind. If you and I cannot have an educated conversation about sexuality and belief systems and respectfully disagree with each other without calling each other names like homophobes and stuff like that, does that make you a heterophobe? I mean, does it? I mean, if you can't accept my choice and my belief, you are excluding me if I don't agree with you. So then I'm being discriminated against. I asked with this prayer, dear Lord, your word is filled with accounts of miraculous protection. We claim the power of your vulnerable children. Make your little ones invisible to people who seek to exploit them, and give their parents and caregivers the strength to stand up for what is right. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hello, I am Riley Irwin from 32 Vermont Avenue in Southington. People of Southington, today I will be discussing the corruption in our Board of Education. Since 2018 to 2019, my junior year of high school, our elected officials have known about bullying occurring in our schools and have done nothing. I reported my bully easily over 50 times, and instead of doing anything, I was the one getting the consequences. According to the Safe School Climate Plan Series 5000 R-5130, Section 7, Part F, it states, if a bullying complaint raises concerns about discrimination or harassment on the basis of legal protected classifications such as race, religion, color, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, age, or disability, the Safe School Climate Specialist, or designee, shall also coordinate any investigation with others appropriate personnel within the district as appropriate. I recorded the person in question harassing me. I was brought into the office 2 minutes before school ended and held there till I missed my bus. I was told I was getting a warning, and that was until my father showed up and started advocating for me. That's when our new superintendent decided to suspend me. Assistant superintendent, sorry. Decided to suspend me. Diane Holtz-Gruby and Leah Clark knew about the bullying and did nothing.
I'm sorry.
Point of order.
I'm sorry. You cannot talk about our employees. I'm sorry.
I'm a resident of this town, and I was a member of your education.
I understand that, but we do not allow any discussion of any employees or using any of their names. I'm sorry, we cannot do that.
I'd like my time back. Thank you. Since the beginning of my senior year, after them forcing me out of the high school, our Board of Education and high school administration have been under federal investigation. They decided the only thing I asked was for our former superintendent to write me an apology letter saying he knew everything and did nothing. I never received it. My parents have had numerous meetings with the former superintendent and the new assistant superintendent of things that should have been done, yet nothing ever was. The school swept everything under the rug. I wasn't allowed to bring my witnesses in to give statements of what they witnessed and what they saw. My teachers turned against me. I was told by my pre-calc teacher the reason I wasn't at Southington High School full-time is because I couldn't respect authority. I don't know what administration told her, but you don't say that to a student. I was given a 5-minute early pass to accommodate not seeing my aggressor. She would leave her class early to come find me. She would skip class to be in my lunch period, and she got no repercussions. The school said I was awarded by the New Britain court a temporary restraining order till we went to trial. The school said because we are a school, they couldn't enforce my restraining order. I'm not the only student this happened to. I'm out of that dangerous school now, and I ask you citizens of Southington to take a stand and help the youth of this town.
Hi, Sean Irwin. I'm Riley's father, also at 32 Vermont Avenue. I would, just to dovetail off what she said, I would like Ms. Carmody and Mr. Pepe to hereby resign due to their incompetence. I'll give you to the end of the month.
Bob Brown, 587 Bird Street in Plantsville. I'm here tonight to announce our new honorees for the Southington High School Wall of Honor. First, let me explain when we will have our ceremony. We will induct these people on May 5th at 6 p.m. in the high school auditorium. We had planned a gala event at the AquaTurf for April 26th, but several months ago, with the COVID numbers still high, we decided to postpone that event. It will probably be held in the fall, but we haven't rescheduled it yet. Let me also thank the committee members. Terry Carmody, Frank Pepe, and Chris Palmieri have all been very helpful at attending meetings, as well as Karen Vidable, Michelle Zammer, Vicky Triano, Chris Poulos, and Art Secundo in giving input into the work of this committee. We have 10 new inductees covering the last 3 years. More extensive biographies will be included in our press release soon, so I'm just going to have a one sentence who they are, and they all have pages of biography. We have not had a ceremony in over 2 years, so that's why we have 10 this year. The first group starts with, from 2 years ago, Kara Belvin, whose mother had cancer growing up and who started a now nationally recognized program to help girls growing up in that situation. She does a lot of wonderful humanitarian work. Second, we have Sandra and Gino Brino. Well known, I'm sure, to most people. They are responsible for helping to form our world-class robotics team. Actually, Gino was a former student of mine. Third, we have Rob Dibble, someone I think many of you may know also. He had achieved fame as a hard-throwing relief pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, but then he went on to become also a nationally known sports radio broadcaster at ESPN. From last year, we have Kevin Altieri, who is an animator and a cartoonist in Hollywood, in California. We have Ken DeMoro, who was the longtime town historian. We have John Gazecki, who was the former principal of the high school, also a veteran of World War II and was significant in some of the building projects in town. And Kristen Gaida, who is a decorated practicing nurse, humanitarian, and now is a teacher of nursing in a college. And for this year, we have John DeMello, who is a veteran and longtime advocate for veterans in our town. and Joseph Tranquillo, who is the Associate Provost for Transformative Teaching and Learning at Bucknell University and a published author. He has been on many television shows in addition. We also will include more of our World War II soldiers. We are trying to cover all the people who are from town who gave their lives during time of war, and I think this will complete our list, but we'll have to check. As I said, each of these has a more extensive biography than I listed here. We hope everyone here will attend on May 5th, school officials, Board of Ed members, and the public. This is a free ceremony. We have amazing students from our schools who have gone on to accomplish great things, and we should all be proud of them and of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Name, Jolene Maselli, 209 Hilltop Drive. I'm here to ask for your help. So I have 3 children. My youngest is a senior at Southington High School. My older 2 graduated from the high school, many familiar faces through all those years. My oldest is trans, and he transitioned during his junior year of high school about 10 years ago. I am on the Southington Pride Board, and I just want to share some help that we need. So a lot of the feedback that we've had from the students we work with, our town, honestly, just a lot of youth I know through my work, through my life, through my children's relationships that they have, they need support. I think there's wonderful programming happening at the high school through the GSA, offering that support. We're lucky to have teachers that do support these students. But we need a little bit more. A lot of the feedback I'm hearing is they need help sooner. I could tell you my son personally, he knew that he was gay in middle school. Kids on the bus know about LGBTQI lifestyle in middle school. You can tell that by kids that tease each other on the bus. Many stories I've heard about students picking on 3 girls sitting in a seat, calling it a lesbian seat, calling people an FAGGOT, making fun of people calling them gay. This all happens at the middle school level already. I would have some suggestions on how to help support. You're going to hear from more students behind me that are going to give you some of their ideas. Personally, I would love to see a GSA presence at the middle school level for those students that need that support. I would love to see some kind of anti-bullying, suicide prevention programming, assembly, workshops, aimed for everybody with the focus on the risk that we know from our statistics, LGBTQIA plus students are at more risk of bullying and a lot of other risk behaviors, drug use, harm, a lot of things right from our own data here in town. I think it'd be great to have a Pride Day and a Pride Week, but it's got to mean something. It's got to be more than just a celebration where people can dress up, and it has to have purpose. It has to have intent. And we have to address the bigger problem of that support that we feel that we need. I hope you'll consider this. I hope you'll listen to the students' stories with an open mind. And thank you very much for everything that you do. Have a good evening.
My name is Katie Saltis, and I live at 175 Berlin Avenue, Southington. I am a teacher at John F. Kennedy Middle School, and I'm here to support my students who identify as members of the LGBTQIA+ community. I think it is fantastic that Southington had their first Pride Festival activities last year, and believe that it would be extremely beneficial for the entire student population to see that their teachers, school system, and friends support and care about them regardless of their sexuality or gender identity. According to the Trevor Project, LGBTQ youth who report having at least one accepting adult were 40% less likely to report a suicide attempt in the past year. We as teachers, administrators, superintendents, and Board of Education members need to publicly make known that we are allies. A great way to do this would be to have a district-wide Pride Day or Pride Week during the town's Pride Festival celebrations. In my opinion, this is not a political issue. This is about celebrating the diversity of our student population and their families during Pride Month and throughout the year. This is about showing our students that we care. This is about helping students who might not have a support system at home. This is about having strong values as a school district. Most importantly, this is about the positive impact of love and acceptance. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll consider instating an annual Pride Day or Pride Week in our district.
I'm Gabriella Bruce. I live at 160 Bellevue Ave, and I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and I'm the high school's president of the GSA. As a person who's part of the LGBTQ community, I've faced many struggles. I first started coming out in the fifth grade. I was one of the youngest people who have done so in our school system, and because of that, many of my peers did not understand why I was so different from them. Many of them ridiculed me or just in general distanced themselves from me. Talking about, and then was incredibly difficult. Many of them came to me with their questions, those of them who didn't have anyone else who they knew was gay. So many of them addressed those questions to me, but I was so young and I didn't know how to answer those questions. Some of them were incredibly inappropriate or in general just were hateful questions and didn't have good intentions behind them, but some of them did. But even then, I wasn't the person to ask those questions to. There were many events through my middle school career that led me to have many struggles in my personal life. One of them was anytime I went to the locker room, people would make questions at me. In all honesty, I would hide in the corner. I wouldn't make eye contact, and still people would make these gross sexual comments at me and treat me like I was a predator in those spaces, when in all honesty, I was just scared. For about 5 months, all through 8th grade, I had people calling me slurs on buses, and I no longer felt safe in the school. School used to be the safe place for me, but it no longer was. It all came to a halt at our 8th grade class night, when that's supposed to be one of the exciting moments for us, when a group of guys followed me into the bathroom and made some incredibly gross sexual comments at me. I still face stuff like that today, and all through this, most of the times I didn't report it because no one told me I should. Because there's no one there advocating for me, I had to be my own advocate. I only started reporting toward 8th grade, and even then, many people brushed it aside and did not accurately treat my situation as something that was serious. It took many peers and teachers reporting it for any actions to be done, and through this I felt incredibly alone. That's why the middle school needs better education systems for LGBTQ people, and even their own GSA or some kind of support system for them, so that they don't feel as alone as I did. I still can't ride a school bus without crying, and I don't feel comfortable using the school bathrooms. And it even led me to self-harm for some time. So this is a serious issue, and it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sofia Shasha. I live at 40 White Oak Drive. Before I begin my speech, I would like to give Gabriella a round of applause for her strength for sharing her story. My name is Sophia. I'm a junior at Southington High School, and I'm here to raise awareness for the need for some planned Pride Month activities in the Southington Public Schools District. And if they go well, for them to be year-round. A cohesive argument would start with a personal connection, so here's mine. I figured out I was gay right around the beginning of sophomore year. It was weird. I slowly came out to my friends, and I started coming out at school, and my teachers probably overheard. But I didn't come out to my parents till a year or so after I figured out. I came up to my mom after a Steps Youth Council meeting talking about Pride events, and I came up to my dad shortly after. It wasn't because I was scared they wouldn't accept me. I knew they would. It was just scary. Places like school made it seem like it was not normal to be gay, and all I wanted to do was fit in and not stick out. So coming out was hard, not because I wasn't going to be accepted, because I was afraid of what would happen at school. Looking back, it seems really silly because my Spanish teacher literally had a pride flag in her room. So once I did come out, I was welcomed with open arms, but I wasn't necessarily treated differently. If I was, it was from my friends just thinking I couldn't relate on boys and stuff anymore. So I wasn't excluded, but the idea that sexuality isn't a spectrum or that I wouldn't understand at all kind of pushed me out, but not completely. This is why we need to raise awareness and some sort of education. People assume that being gay or the sexuality is not a spectrum at all. And so people are figuring out that who they are more earlier and earlier, and there's more acceptance, but for the ones that aren't accepted, they need some sort of support systems. And so promoting that there are trusted adults in the school system and why we need a district Pride Day or week where we can celebrate not only the community itself, but also trusted adults and places where students can go where they can be safe and heard. And not in the sense of where this is just one place where we can get actual education. And it's not something that's just taught in school. It's like a club or a program that's after school too. That's for students who can't be there during school or need another moment for help. Going back to another point that was said earlier,
It is a fact that in this town, people who don't identify as straight have a higher past 30-day use rate. This is from the STEPS program. I'm on the chair. This is actual data that we've collected in the 2019 survey, and I do not doubt that with the 2022 survey that we took recently, this data has not gone up in numbers. The world is more accepting and more people are coming out. It's time for our schools. Is that my time? Schools to catch up, and so let's please have a Pride Month to celebrate these people. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Lisa Mason, and I live at 66 Hobart Street. I work in the field of substance misuse prevention and mental health promotion, working with community coalitions like STEP all over the state. And this is a growing issue, increasing issue, call to action on towns and school systems all over the state. I'm also a mom of 2 teenagers here in Southington. I just want to speak out in support of increasing LGBTQ awareness and resources for our students. We know this population is at higher risk for substance abuse and mental health issues, not because of who they are, but because of social stigma, discrimination, and bullying. We also know this population is more likely to be homeless because of family rejection. In Southington, as was just stated previously, the number of young people who reported their status as LGBTQ plus in the STEP survey doubled from the previous 2 years, and it'll be interesting to see what this year's surveys. We'll be looking at that first Monday in April. They also reported, these students reported using substances at a higher rate, which fits in exactly with the national statistics. I believe increasing awareness and resources for these kids. I'm thrilled that there's a GSA to provide positive adults, a safe place, positive peers for our students. I believe this fits under the greater goal of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and especially health equity. Thank you for your time.
I'm Kylea Dano. I'm on 4 Cordell U Road. I'm a student from Southington High School, and I'm here today to talk on behalf of myself and of other students. I'd like to warn you now, this speech contains mentions of suicide. Let's start off with the facts. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death among adolescents, and gay teens are 4 times more likely than straight teens to attempt suicide. The Trevor Project estimates that at least 1 LGBTQ youth between the ages of 13 and 24 attempts suicide every 45 seconds in the U.S. alone. Apply these rates to the estimates of LGBTQ youth living in the U.S. results in an estimated 503,073 LGBTQ youth between the ages of 13 and 18, and 209,917 between the ages of 19 and 24 who attempted suicide in the past year, for a total of 712,920 LGBTQ youth between the ages of 13 and 24. These are a few stories of people from the LGBTQ community who are no longer with us. Andrew Leach, a 12-year-old bi-curious boy who would be turning 16 this year, but took his life on March 6, 2018. Lizzie Lowe, a 14-year-old lesbian who would be turning 22 this year, but took her life on September 10, 2014. Jamal Miles, a 9-year-old boy who took his life August 23, 2018. He would be turning 13 this year. This is just a small portion of people from the LGBTQ plus community who lost their lives due to harassment and bullying from other uneducated students. We cannot go back and bring these children home to their broken-hearted parents, and no amount of apologies could ever fill the void a loved one leaves once they die. If we teach children about Pride Month and what LGBTQ means from a young age, there will be more acceptance and understanding. We have to catch up with today's times. Some kids have gay parents, some have more than 2 moms and 2 dads, and some have non-binary parents, all of which love them just as much as any other heteronormative would. By not showing this, we are doing a disservice to our generation and future generations. If we leave such a key piece of education out, the more like we lose in general. The longer we wait on normalizing and educating about the LGBTQ community causes a higher chance of unsafe environment. Everyone wants to believe my kid is happy and healthy, but a kid won't show you the darker side to the feelings. They won't show you the slurs people post on social media or the tears they cry of any other LGBTQ figure's death by suicide. If we want to accomplish a happy, healthy learning environment, we must start where we lack some of the most basic information. It is never too late to learn what LGBTQ is and what it means to be part of the community. The more adults and school systems that support
Excuse
education-
me, your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Michael Krasansky, 27 Hitching Post Drive. So I'm here tonight to express concern about some of the questions that were asked on the STEP survey that 7th, 9th, and 11th graders recently took in school. The idea behind the survey was to find out what's going on with kids in town so STEPs can create programs to help youth in town. So that's a good idea. However, some of the questions I strongly disagree with. These questions are pushing a political agenda and provide no benefit to youth in town. I thought STEPS was an organization dedicated to keeping kids safe by educating them about the dangers of risky behaviors like drug use. Why is there this constant push to introduce race and sexual identity into our schools? Can we let our kids enjoy their youth without having to always bring politics into everything? There's no wonder that there are so many mental health issues among youth today based upon adults pushing their agendas in schools on kids. Many parents are now distrustful of the government and schools due to controversial events happening in our nation. Many parents who I spoke with don't agree with some of the questions in the survey, but don't want to make waves or they will pull their kids out from public school because they don't want to be involved with what's going on. Many more parents don't even know a survey was offered, or if they know, they have no idea what the questions were on the survey. As a society, we are inundated by communications, so don't have the time to review everything. We trust that the schools are acting in our best interest and not engaging in activities that many parents would find disagreeable. The survey was unavailable for parents to see unless they drove to the schools to view and see it. And if someone did drive to school to see the survey, they were not allowed to photograph it or make a copy of it. This leads one to think something's being hidden. There's a lack of transparency. I'm cutting my speech short because of the 3 minutes, so every parent's going to have a different take on what they think is acceptable for their child, and I'm not going to go into the questions due to lack of time. But some questions I have. What do some of the sexual answer choices even mean? Transgender, doesn't identify as male, doesn't identify as female, not sure, bisexual, only gay, mostly gay. I believe there are many more sexual identities out there based upon what I read in the media. Why aren't they listed here? What do you mean by different race, ethnic group, or culture? I think everyone defines these terms in different ways. I think each child would see each of these things differently. I'm not seeing the value here except to stir up controversy and division. What is done with the results of the survey? How does answering the questions I highlighted in the survey help the students? What programs does STEPS create based upon the answers to these questions? What is STEPS telling our kids at their programs based upon the survey results? I'm less concerned with the survey questions as with what STEPS programs are created based upon the answers to these questions. Why are we making parents even more mistrustful of the public schools by pushing these controversial surveys on our kids? There's enough political division in this country and we don't need more. Don't give parents another reason to walk away. I did have a meeting with Megan Albanese and some of the STEPS organization, and their decision was that nothing needed to be changed based upon my feedback. My suggestions for the STEPS survey next time around, maybe the town should make its own survey instead of relying on this outside company that doesn't want to make it transparent, or hire another company to do the survey. Make the survey available to parents instead of at the school. Put it in the library so parents can see it. Have it being opt-in instead of opt-out, so parents have to opt into do the survey, or otherwise it's just given to them, without them even knowing about it. Have a parent panel review the questions before the survey is released. remove sexual orientation and racial questions due to the political nature of these topics in society today. And because I'm running out of time, most importantly, and I want to finish with this, what the Southington Public Schools should do is they should have a website where every parent can go and they can check off a checkbox or uncheck it for everything that's not academic related. So diversity workshops, all these other things, I want a place to go where I can uncheck and not have my kids in that without having to email someone every week to say, I don't want my kid in this week, all right? My kids are there to be educated in science, math, and all these other things. Schools are for education and not activism. And I can
Thank
tell
you,
you,
Mike.
I know a lot of people from
Thank
other
you. Your time
countries,
is up. There's
they
people
laugh at
waiting.
our level of math and science here because we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on other things.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Steve Balszewski, 191 Queen Street. So I want to start by saying that it's really horrifying that a group of people can follow somebody into a bathroom with the purpose of sexually harassing them and not be expelled. And it's equally horrifying that somebody who is targeted in that manner feels like they can't trust the school system enough to come forward with it. There's a common recurring theme here tonight, and we've heard it at other meetings as well, of the school system completely failing to deal with abuse and bullying. And I'm going to disagree with the idea, though, of having a Pride Month is going to change somebody who is abusive into not being abusive. The school needs to step up and start dealing with people who are abusive to others. You're not doing it right now. There's example after example, meeting after meeting of people bringing up the same thing. Their kid is bullied. Nobody does anything. The school doesn't do anything. And the school even sometimes punishes the person who is bullied for coming forward with that. Totally unacceptable. It's a huge failure. You have to actually do something about this, not just have a Pride Month and say we did something. You have to actually do something about it. Deal with these issues. Somebody who's sexually harassing somebody like that should be expelled. Why are you letting them stay in the school where they can continue to sexually harass other people? It's totally unacceptable. School system needs to do a lot better going forward. You need to stop targeting people who come forward with issues of bullying and punishing that. I don't even understand why that's even a thing. Whose brain works like that, where somebody comes forward to them with a problem of being bullied by somebody and you think we're gonna blame them and suspend them and target them because they're creating waves? I mean, that's a repulsive way of thinking. So I'm going to wrap up. You need to do a lot better dealing with this, a lot better. The idea that somebody in our town can be sexually harassed in the bathroom like that and nothing happens, it's unconscionable. So you need to step up. Not just saying we had a Pride Month, therefore we did something, because that's a superficial solution. That's not, if there was no gay students in the school system, the people abusing them would just abuse somebody else. It's not because they don't understand homosexuality. It's because they're abusive people. And you need to get them out of the schools so they stop abusing people. Thank you.
Rick Rice, 11 Coles Avenue, and I'm going to speak a little bit about this survey also. But before I get into the survey, which I have a copy of if anyone needs it, the first thing I'm going to talk about is how governments have brainwashed children over time. The Nazis did it, the Communist Chinese did it, Stalin did it. They always try to subvert the children first, so they turned against their parents. So when I look at this, then I go back and I look at the survey and I see some of the questions. Now, of course, I was told this was an anonymous survey, but which is ridiculous because it was put on a computer that has a chip that you have to log into. So all of us here that have ever logged on a computer know that you're identifiable. So as soon as you took that survey, they can identify exactly who you are. So when you go into this survey, you ask them questions, and this is directed at, they said it was 7th grade, 9th, but you know, at the survey, the first question is, are you 11 or younger? Well, I know if you're younger than 11, you're 10. So that's pretty good math. So I know you're talking to 10-year-olds. So I turn to question number 109, and the question says, how many times have you had sex this week? So you're asking a 10-year-old how many times anyone want to read the question? It's right here. How many times have you had sex? You're a 10-year-old. Are you kidding me? These are the kind of things that are in here. Which describes you? Now, there's only two answers that make sense, male or female, but then you get into, you're a 10-year-old. You don't even understand sexuality. And you have people in government saying that the other four choices, be transgender male, female, female to male, transgender, do not identify exclusively male, not sure. These are the questions in your survey. And I can give you a whole bunch of these. But, you know, what are you? You're asking questions. What are you? You're only straight? You're mostly straight? You're 10. You're 10 years old, and you're perverting a child by even asking him those questions. They have no idea what you're even talking about. You're not qualified to ask these questions. Are you bisexual? Are you mostly lesbian? Are you only lesbian gay? This is a child playing in the playground, and you're going to walk up to him and ask him these questions, and you're not going to discuss it with the parents first. This is shocking. I don't know why there's not a class action lawsuit against this town right now for $100 million seeking restitution for the parents and the children you have damaged. This is what's going on here. You're not qualified to ask these questions about values when we know everyone is identifiable. You're asking questions about, are your parents nice to you? Are they taking care of you properly? Have they ever spanked you? You're now invading the household. And it says in here, you're going to get questions about your parents. I could read some of those questions, and I probably don't have time to do it right now. But this is shocking what's going on in this town. This needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. Parents have a right to know what's going on. And you have to be stopped from this abusive, sick behavior. This cannot be tolerated any longer.
Time is up.
You have to get out of the sexual business and get back to education.
Sir,
you understand that? You have to get out of the sex business.
Time is up.
You're
Thank
a
you.
sick bitch.
Out of order.
You write questions like this, there's something wrong with you.
Thank
Out
you,
of
sir.
order.
Steve.
Well, hi. Christopher McKee, formerly of 945 West Center Street Extension, where one of my children currently reside. I come before you as a father of a child of your school system who identifies as a member of the LGBT community. I also come before you as a 30-year recently retired law enforcement officer and executive, which much of my career was spent in partnership in schools and school-based policing. I want to thank you. I want to thank STEPS. I want to thank the administration. I want to thank the parents that are doing everything that you're doing. None of us are perfect. I do appreciate, and I know there are many folks that appreciate that education is not simply academics. Education is life skills. Education is social, emotional values. So recognizing that, I just wanted to end tonight with when I first became a police officer in the schools, didn't take me long before I became an ally to the GSA in a community here in northern central Connecticut, very similar to Southington. As I didn't become a member of the GSA, I didn't become an ally of the GSA club in the high school there because any of my children identified in the LGBT community. I did so because as a police officer, I saw in our state, not far from here, what was happening to those students that did come out and identify as gay. I saw the homeless rates. I saw the bullying, I saw the victimizing, and I saw the suicidal ideation of students that are no different than these students that came bravely before you. It just so happens that I am now here with a child that identifies as a member of the LGBT community. But what I want to just pass along, besides the information, the great data that was given to you, the appeals to be open-minded and look for what more can be done, is I wanted to put a real name and a real face, and her name was Julia. And another police department that I went to after I retired from my first as an executive, within our first year, we lost a high school junior to suicide. And it would never be public, and it certainly isn't something that there's concrete evidence, but based on a lot of the conversations I had with Julia's peers, it was because she felt the community would never accept her if she came out as gay. And she felt no other options. And her struggles were so that she decided that ending her life, that was the only option. So if it can happen in this community, which is within a 30-minute drive of here, it can happen here. And I just want to implore you, I want to recognize the young lady who stood up and mentioned the suicide rates of our kids, but unfortunately, she's incorrect. Suicide is not the third leading cause of death of our kids. It's our second leading cause. I know this because I teach educators and police officers across the country in de-escalation and adolescent mental health. And consistently, with the exception of 1 year in the last decade, car crashes, unfortunately, is the number one killer of our kids, but suicide is the second. So there's a lot of reasons. I appreciate what you're doing. But think of Julia, think of the faces and the names, because they're real and they're here, and we certainly don't want to see a tragedy like that in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Wendy Fisher, 482 South End Road. I wasn't planning to speak today. I was planning to just be here as moral support, but I have a story that's very, very personal and would like to share it with you all. I have 3 sons that born and raised in this town. None of them are any longer in the school system. My middle son identifies as pansexual, and he knew from the 3rd grade that he was different. He didn't know he was bisexual. He didn't know if he was gay. He didn't know if he was pansexual. He didn't know, but he knew he was different. And his classmates knew he was different too. And he was in one of the smallest schools in the district, and he still couldn't get the support he needed. 5th grade, he came home every day crying, asking me to homeschool him. We pulled him out of the school system. In 6th grade, he went to a private school, which was not something I ever considered for my kids. I picked Southington because of the school district. And we had to pull him out of the school. And he is who he is today because of that decision. Otherwise, I think it's very possible he would no longer be with us. So, 10 years old? No. Try 6, 7, 8. They know it, they feel it, and there's not support here. So Jolene's suggestion to start something in the middle school, absolutely. I think you could probably start even younger. Thank you.
Good evening, fellow board members. How are you? Thank you, everybody, for speaking. I always love when community comes out and speaks. It's always such a real testament of who we are as human beings, as Americans. And so I thank everyone. I'm here on a different regime, but thank you for your care and concern and the students who came out and were bold.
Missy, can I ask you to give your name and
my
address?
name's Missy Cipriano. I'm sorry, 91 Queen Street. Sorry.
Thank you, dear.
Not following rules. That's me. I want to monkey back on Steve Medancy. Mr. Medancy mentioned DECA, and I'm going to be brief because it's my 6th year judging as a DECA judge. 2 years on Zoom, and again, for all the students that are going far, this is daunting as a judge to have a student have to videotape themselves and do a 3-person as if to say, you are not in front of me. They did an excellent job, and I can't wait for them to go back to live in-person interviews so I could be part of that. I also wanted to, on part of the board, I am part of the library board now, of the Board of Education, on the library board, and serve on the Barnes Committee. On behalf of the Barnes Committee, I have a personal invitation you guys could grab, please. We have a date set personally just for the Board of Ed to come and see all the new stuff going on at the Barnes. So here's our invitation, Mr. Medancy. You guys each take one of those. And one of my main reasons for being here this evening is last week, Southington Public School lost a dear young man at 16 years old. Same to RJ Thomas. And I'm going to get through this without crying. His parents are listening. And they asked me to come to the board meeting to, say a thank you on behalf of their family. RJ had a debilitating disease. And many of you guys know, and if you don't know, he's a member of the Y. His father works at the YMCA, and just a dear family. So this letter is from the Thomas family to the Southington Public School Board of Education. We would just like to say thank you. Thank you to the Southington teachers, to the parents, the students, and the community for their prayers and support when we needed them the most. RJ's teachers, I won't mention your name, went above and beyond compared to most teachers, always making school fun for him even when he didn't want to be there, even when it was online. Whether it to be art or craft project, cooking project, or types of monkeys and cars and more. Another teacher made it clear that she loved working with him. For every morning she woke up to make sure that he was there, having jokes and pictures of dogs and cats just to make him smile. In his last days, she came to the house to read to him in his bed every day, a book, even when he was not able to respond. The past 2 years were also from the computer screen, from a driveway or distance. Everyone in the community made him know that he was wanted and loved, and his education was important. I thank you for your financial support in years past. Thank you to all the staff who visited him, and it really meant a lot to us. And again, thank you for your love and support and prayers, the Thomas family.
Hi, how are ya? My name is Regina Calvello, and I live at 12 Beecher Street. My first time here, so bear with me as far as a board meeting. 4 generations of my family have lived and been schooled here. I know Mrs. Carmody, and then I had her teacher. And I want to say, you know what? Don't want to pick apart teachers, because there are a lot of great teachers. I mean, I had them, but then there are some that are kind of not. So it's not a whole. Well, it's just, anyway, the curriculum definitely needs to be changed. We need to start teaching the truth, and this is in a lot of things, and not partial group's truth, not one group's truth, but the whole truth. I am here to support not only the LGBTQIA community, but the whole community. Our children are bullied. They are scared. They are afraid to talk to someone. Some of the children are even being bullied by their parents. Sexual orientation, excuse me, is not a choice. It is who you are. The way we are born. Those of you who think that it is a phase or that you can bully them into it, conversion therapy, okay, you are uneducated. They need a safe place to learn and also talk to someone if they need to. Yes, parents do have the ultimate say, but I feel that it would be seriously hurt someone, students. Counselors should listen and help the students and keep it confidential unless they feel it is life-threatening. Some of the parents need to be educated too. Maybe there should be a course for them. I want to tell you a true story. In the 80s, I had a good friend. When he told his parents that he was gay, his parents disowned him. And I'm not going to name any names, but his parents owned a very, very reputable business in this town. He tried to talk to them, but they wouldn't listen. He was in so much emotional pain that he started doing drugs. He ended up dying of an overdose because his parents wouldn't accept him. We need to start loving people, and we should be happy for our children. As long as they are happy, love is the most important thing. I don't care who they're in love with. Love is what's important. And as far as ages, yeah, I am a straight woman, but I have family members that have gone through so much, and that is why I had to come to this meeting for the first time. Something needs to be done, and it is in the middle schools. It is in the elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Herron at 408 Main Street. This is my first time here, and I want to thank all of you for sitting through everybody's comments. I know it's a difficult job sometimes. The problem that we're seeing, and again, this is my first time here, there's like two sides. There's those that believe in the old way, there's male and female, and then there's the other side that there's gender fluidity. I want to speak on God's behalf. This problem of what's going on here, it's not going to go away until people start turning back to God. It's not going to go away. It's going to get worse and worse and worse until people turn back to God, till people start praying, till they finally try to understand did God make me? And if so, is he real? And will he answer my prayers? We're in the mess we're in because people have turned away from God. And I don't care if people say they believe in the Big Bang Theory. Okay, if there's just the Big Bang Theory, somebody had to be there in the very beginning as a source to create the stuff to make a Big Bang, you know? Nothing is going to be resolved without people turning back to God. And you may try to do every single thing that you can, programs, the Pride Month, everything. It's not going to change until people turn back to God. And that's the message that I have. I don't have any other message because I know that that is the solution. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you all.
Hello, Board. Susan Zabahansky, Working Street. I came here prepared with a written testimony, but I think I need to change it, as I often do. I'm proud at the children who came forward bravely about their testimony. However, I have to say that I agree with Steve, who came up earlier and spoke about bullying in general. Bullying is a administration problem, and it should not be handled by any outside organizations. I was shocked to hear today from a parent who didn't attend because there's strife in her home because of an agenda being pushed politically by a group in town that is claiming to be on behalf of children of the LGBTQ plus community. The student was approached by the Pride group in her after-school program. She was approached by a town council person who went on behalf of the Pride group as well, and was asked to come out here and speak at the Board of Education meeting. This caused division in her family because her family did not know that this was going to be pushed at this group. She went to that group seeking what many of these people talked about, a place to be safe, and then was told to become an activist by some members of a Pride organization in town without the parents' knowledge. That is something that should never be done. A student should not be put in the middle and be asked to come out here on display without a parent's being knowledgeable of that occurring. That parent didn't come tonight because now she was sat home crying because there's division with her and her daughter created by the after-school program that's being advocated in the school system. That should never happen. The public school system, including administrations and teachers, should be in no way involved in promoting political, religious, social, or sexual orientation ideology. No one people group should be held unaccountable because of due to their inappropriate conduct, both in and out of the school, because they are somehow considered a protected class. Everybody needs to be accountable for their behavior, no matter how they identify.
It's time for us as a community to push back against the narrative of division. It's time to stop implementing programs that push social equity, inequality, which essentially creates inequality, political ideology, sexuality. It's not to be discussed in the school. That's a moral issue that should be home. And there's people of us who identify as a certain religion who are also bullied and feel like we need to remain in the closet because of our religion.
Time is up.
And
Thank you.
we should never create inequality in the name of
Time is
equity.
up. Thank you.
Hello, real quick. Effie Mutagianis, 53 Rustic Oak Drive. I don't know the kids that showed up to speak to students, but I'm proud as hell of all of you, okay? What else? You call us old heads or whatever you call adults now. We got you, okay? We got you, for sure. On it. Thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Do you hear that, Steve?
He prefers an email.
Yeah.
Steve, do you hear that? The alarm.
Public speak.
Well, it's not working.
I'll check it out.
Not working.
We're gonna take. Huh. Your husband thought so too. Huh? No.
My name is Robert Tonin, 106 Ashwell Drive, Plantsville. I'm not here on this subject. I'm here, I was kind of surprised. I'm a member of Southington Unico, and I just want to, I guess, put a plug in for us. Support Southington Unico because we fully fund unified sports and theater. So if you ever see an activity that we put on, just support it, and that helps support unified sports.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
theater.
Thank you. Are there any other public speakers? No? I'm going to ask for a 2-minute recess. Thank you. Restrooms, whatever, and then we'll continue our meeting.
What do you want?
A 2-minute recess. 2 minutes for restroom breaks.
I would.
Pritchard.
What time is your flight leave? Soldier. It doesn't leave until Saturday.
Oh, all right.
But then
You're
you're leaving
fine.
tomorrow.
All right.
Head to the airport.
You ready, Mrs. Carmody? She's yakking and she can't hear me.
Terry.
Mrs. Carmody.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm behaving. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. The next item on the agenda is our Policy and Personnel Committee report. Mr. Williams.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Policy and Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, March 2nd. The topics of discussion, we talked about job descriptions for the school nursing supervisor, as well as for the information technology secretary and the technology secretary. Those revisions were presented. A recent retirement in the office prompted a review of both descriptions, which were last revised in 2006. Restructuring of the office, as well as the evolution of the district's student and staff technology use, has redefined both existing positions. The suggested revisions accurately capture current job responsibilities respectively, and they're in your packets for first read. We also went back over some of the capstone SHS position. I know there was some conversation before. This was just more of a follow-up, and the administration will continue to monitor the time needed, and we'll return to the committee next year with further recommendations. And that is all.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any questions of Mr. Williams in his report? Hearing none. Moving right along, curriculum and instruction meeting. Mr. Brzezowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we had our meeting Friday, March 11th. It was an awesome meeting. So we started off the segment with grade 2 science units. Melissa O'Neill provided an overview of proposed second grade units. The first entitled "The Fourth Little Pig."
I love that.
Which was great. The unit possessed a strong engineering basis and challenges students to consider what other materials could be used to rebuild if there were no more bricks, so to speak, in the traditional story. The second unit uses the koa tree in Hawaii to discover seed dispersal and pollination, and the vast distances seeds can travel and where they end up. Students also conducted investigations around trees requiring different amounts of light and water. The third unit, I'm not even going to get into. I'm going to allow Mrs. Carmody to discuss what she and Mrs. Anastasio learned.
Gee, thanks, Joe. I really have to say how much I appreciate you letting me do this. First of all, the entire science curriculum is fantastic. It is so relevant to the students. I hated science in school. There was someone at the meeting that said, "You hated science. What could be more boring than history?" We won't mention who said that. That was Mr. Pepe. But anyway.
Out of order.
When we did we all know the story of the three little pigs. And how they huffed and they puffed and so the science teachers were teaching the kids how to build things. They had to do a bridge, remember, and to see if they could put it together and it wouldn't fall down. And at the end, I'll make this very brief. At the end, a boy and a girl built their own house, and the teacher interviewed them, and they showed how they built their little house so that it would survive the huff, the puff, and the blowing it down. It was great. And then we learned about the trees that grow in Hawaii and why they grow in Hawaii and not in Connecticut, and, all about the environment, things that, of course, I did not know. But most importantly, Dawn and I, who have had very sheltered lives, right, Dawn?
Yes.
Very
yes.
sheltered.
Yes.
We have never seen a beaver.
No.
I know what a beaver looks like, but I have never personally seen a beaver. Wherever I've lived, I've never seen one. So we got a lesson on what the beavers do and how they affect the environment. And of course, Joe was an expert, as he always is on everything that he talks about.
A woodsman.
Yes. Everything. And Mr. Pepe is another one that was an expert on what beavers do.
Yep.
And how they build the dams, and they take their tails, right, Don?
Yep, and they pat
And
down
the
the
tails
mud.
go like this,
Pat down the
and
mud.
that's how they Am I doing this
Yeah,
right,
you're,
Joe?
you're 100%.
I'm doing a good job, huh, right?
Doing amazing.
And how the tails, when they go like this with their tail, they put the mud down and they, make their dams.
One more demonstration.
One more.
Do it one more
No,
time.
no, no, this is how you showed me how it was done. And when they build a dam, and the dam might be where a stream is, and then that stream might form a pond, which will let other animal life live in it. And it was just such a fantastic curriculum, right?
it was.
I mean, Dawn and I were like,
We
so
learned a lot
impressed.
about beavers.
I never learned that stuff in school, and it was just so relevant. And I am just so proud of what they did with that curriculum. It was really, really great. And of course, Mr. Pepe and Joseph really helped Dawn
did.
and I understand
Thank
things
you.
a lot better.
Thank
so
you.
we thank you. It was a great lesson, though. It really was.
Well, moving on from beavers. Hey,
You should clap because it was a great lesson. Thank you.
So Rick Torino, Sue Vitkovich, and Stephanie Lawler gave us an update on the JFK intervention block pilot, which was approved last year. This is absolutely awesome. So the block was proposed because students were requiring reading or math intervention and were forced to miss art, social studies, and technology education. So with that being said, again, we all know that those are all very important, but sometimes these things that these kids would be missing are essentially like what they go on to do. So, again, all this education is important. And they basically figured out a way to shave 2 minutes off of each period to then move. They had basically block time that was being underutilized. They were expanded out to 30 minutes, which again, like in an interventional aspect is, certainly a lot better time to move things forward, and gave kids the opportunity to, number one, like if a teacher thinks that like, hey, you need to go here for a little extra help, they're able to do that in real time and not miss those other classes. Also with students that didn't require, say, like, I guess, what would you call it, Frank? More guidance, if you will. They could essentially pick other opportunities that, again, like if they wanted to do something more like woodworking, they'd be able to go and help prep for,
Enrichment type thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. Enrichment. It was an awesome presentation. I believe Mr. Palmeri, they're going to be sending that off in the third trimester, I believe. Tomorrow. Awesome.
Tomorrow,
So we're now going to be doing that at DePalo. And again, like it's an effort to keep kids in classes that they're passionate about, but also to get them the help that they need to essentially move the ball forward, which was great presentation, tremendous amount of work, and hopefully we've ironed out a lot of the situation with the pilot study to make DePalo's go a little bit easier. But great meeting overall, and we had a fun time learning about beef.
And that's the other thing. Our curriculum meetings are not because we're on it, but they are really what the Board of Education.
It sounds like
It's
it's
all
an extension of our fantastic adult education program here in town.
Yes,
Okay, are there any questions of Mr. Bajewski? We're going to move.
Say to you, yes, I did. I was educated, and it was very educational. And
Moving right along, folks.
Learning about
Next,
woodchuck.
Moving right along,
Next
Madam
month it's
Chair,
woodchuck.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I
Go
heard.
right ahead.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bajewski, for that report. Our next committee report is the Finance Committee. Mr. Charnowski.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so the Finance Committee met 2 days ago on the 22nd, and we discussed 4 topics. The first being the bid award for the lawn mowing trimming services in fall and spring debris cleanup. We were informed that the administration first gone to bid for the lawn mowing and trimming, as well as the cleanup back in February, but because of budgetary constraints, the first bid was rejected, so we did have to go to rebid. Unlike the previous bids, the administration had decided to award the lawn mowing and trimming and debris cleanup separately for each site, and so that would allow the costs to be decreased in general.
We did have some discussion about why the vendors would be awarded for one service at one site but not for the other, and it was explained that throughout the growing season, you have to, obviously lawn mow throughout the season, and debris cleanup is really just a one-time service. So awarding them at each site really would not hinder their ability to perform those services. The committee agreed and recommended that the Board of Education award the bid as presented by the administration, and I have a motion. I move to award the lawn mowing and debris cleanup services at the 8 school sites to the vendors as presented by the administration.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, so the second thing that we discussed was the preschool regular education tuition rates. And Ms. Mellett had shared the annual review of the preschool tuition rates for the community peer students as well. The review included local area preschools and their anticipated tuition rates for the 2022 to 2023 school year. The administration is not recommending any increase to our tuition rates for the 2022 to 2023 school year. And I also have a motion to approve the 2022 to 2023 preschool tuition rates the same as the 2021 to 2022 school year as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I am going to abstain, as I always do.
You shall be allowed to abstain.
Yeah, I abstain from this and the next one.
All right, so the third topic we also discussed was the YMCA before and after care program for the 2022 to 2023 school year. Ms. Mellett presented the proposed rental rates for the YMCA before and after care program for that school year. The rates are developed each year to reflect the increase in MERS and the hourly custodial rates. And the YMCA registration is in process, and the YMCA will confirm which sites they will use in the coming months. So I move to approve the 2022 to 2023 YMCA lease rates as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I will be abstaining.
As you should.
All right.
Thank you.
The last update, we also had spoke a little bit about the self-insurance fund. There's no motions there. It was just a quick update about the claims paid up to date, and a full update for the self-insurance fund will be presented at the next financial committee meeting.
Any questions for Mr. Charnowski? Thank you, James. Okay, moving right along. Item 9, the personnel report. Do I have a motion?
So moved to accept the personnel report as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Is that a yes? Okay. Oh, just checking. Okay. Town government communications. I will share that yesterday we had a walkthrough of the athletic complex at Southington High School. Mrs. Anastasio accompanied many. There was people from the Board of Finance, people from the Town Council. Thank you, Mr. Chaplinsky, for being there. It was an eye-opening event for many. So I would think we would all agree. Even I, who have been out there for many years, went up to the press box and said, wow, there's a new leak in here. So hopefully everybody is aware of the condition of the high school. And if you haven't been out there, do call Mr. Crocco and take a tour. So
Mr. Risser or Mr. Danello as well, and they can take you around. We had a big group, so we couldn't take the golf carts, but if walking the whole campus is allowed, we can bring you out in the carts to see it. But I think people would agree to see the entire complex and just, the work that needs to be done there. The old saying of a picture is worth 1,000 words. I know I've been talking with you all, and you approved moving the athletic facilities up in the capital plan in exchange for the elementary facilities project, but the timing may be ideal because there's some work in need of dire repair there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And to see it firsthand is, the best way to do it.
Can I ask one
Sure.
more question? So just out of curiosity, and again, like going through some of the different athletics, actually walking the tennis court while I was there, the benefits of doing that traditional sort of cement court versus like a clay court and things like that, are things like that being weighed as far as?
So it was actually what Mr. Romano explained. It was a bituminous product that was used, pavement, and pressed, and there weren't expansion seams put in during the initial install, And so what you have now is every winter when you have heaving and shifting, during the thaw, you get the cracks and the pavement shifting, like our driveways.
Yep.
New courts are now done with concrete, and there's certain product that they put it in to protect that. Right now, we're actually looking at, just because the cracks are so large and there's a bit of a hazard, it also will compromise the level of play, trying to get the cracks filled. Mr. Risser is meeting with a contractor tomorrow, and actually Mr. Chaplinsky actually sent me a contact this evening as well to see if we can't at least do some short-term work in the meantime until we, break ground with the referendum and start to do a proper repair.
Nice.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Any other town government, Mr. Medancy, do you have any?
I do not.
You do not, okay. Okay, I'm a little confused here, but, item 10,
And B?
10B, Mr. Williams?
Yep. Move to approve policy 3542.1, purposes and facilities, food service.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Mr. Williams?
Move to approve policy 5145.3, sexual harassment of students.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Pashevsky, science,
What's that?
here's your science.
Second reading.
Oh, thank you. Move to approve grade 1 units for science in the second reading.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you have another one.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Move to approve library media proposal for grades 3 through 5, second reading.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now I need a motion to approve the Leonard and Gladys Joel Scholarship. New business, yes.
Oh, okay.
Just for those who, in the public who aren't aware, we do award a scholarship. However, this evening, we will not announce the name of that scholarship recipient. I believe that's done at the scholarship night? Yep. Yes? Okay. So we will just approve what our committee has done. So the motion is to approve the Leonard and Gladys Joel Scholarship recipient as recommended by the subcommittee. Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the recipient of the Leonard and Gladys Giles Scholarship.
Do I have a second?
Second. Oh. Give it to Sean.
Give it to Sean because he was on the committee. All, because I'm going to do that. All in favor?
Be that way. Aye. Aye. Ahoy. Or
Okay. And I believe this is back to you, Mr. Williams, the job descriptions.
Yep. Move to approve job description, school nursing supervisor.
Can we do it all
Can do
in
it
one?
one.
We can do all three at once if you want to do.
Somebody.
Okay, yep.
Yes.
Information and technology secretary and technology secretary.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye. Am I allowed?
Yes, you're allowed to vote. Yes, you are. Okay.
I want to do the science one next, okay?
First reading.
You want to
It's the
decide?
first read, Mrs. Carmody, so
Oh,
there's no motion.
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yep.
The next meeting, you will
I'll
be
let
able
you-
to do
Let me
that.
do it the
Oh, of
next
course.
meeting.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
will,
Well, of
Mrs.
course.
Carmody.
Thank you. Geez, that's really nice of you.
The
Thank you.
next,
You have to work Beaver into it though, so that's your homework assignment.
this will be a standing joke for years. The next item, item E, 11E, is the healthy food certification. Mr. Sharnowski is going to read the entire motion to make it official.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 10-215F. The Board of Education or governing authority certifies that all food items offered for sale to students in the school under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards during the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I'd also like.
Yes.
Yep. I'd also like to make another motion. The Board of Education or governing authority will allow the sale of students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in Section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. Number one, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. Number two, the sale is at the location of the event. And number three, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the food and beverage sales.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That was a mouthful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But
That's it.
the booster clubs at the high school are grateful for that, just so you know.
Okay.
Because they can sell food. Mr. Brzezowski, you have our final motion, was second to last motion for the evening? Yes.
It's
Was,
off.
is off,
It's off.
was off.
It's off.
I move to approve the expulsion of student 2021-2022-5 as recommended by the administration.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain from that.
Okay. All right. Now, in light of the fact that Mr. Darrenowski isn't here tonight,
Yes.
Oh,
his favorite
Do it,
motion.
Dawn.
Oh, can I make a
You go,
motion to
Dawn.
end the meeting?
To adjourn.
Adjourn the meeting.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
second.
Second.
Don't jump at once.
I win.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific. Thank you all.
Home and root for
You got
two.
that last one in there.